The office security guard, where my husband worked, quietly slipped a note into my bag and said, "This is about your husband. Read it when you're at home." I was speechless and hurried home. But when I read the note, I was struck dumb with horror. I had been standing in the lobby of the office building where my husband Wayne worked, waiting for him by the reception desk. We had agreed to meet after his workday to go pick out a birthday gift for our daughter Catherine together. She was turning 14, and she dreamed of getting a new phone. Wayne had promised he'd finish work early today just for that. The lobby was cool from the air conditioners, though it was blazing hot outside in July. I sat down on a leather couch across from the reception desk and pulled out my phone to check the time. 4:30. Wayne was supposed to come down in half an hour. I was scrolling through the news when, out of the corner of my eye, I noticed the security guard walking toward me. He was an older man, about 60, with gray mustache and kind brown eyes. I'd seen him many times before when I came to meet Wayne, but I never paid him much attention. He always greeted me politely and held the door. This time, though, he stopped right next to me. Surprised, I looked up. His face showed a strange mix of worry and determination. He glanced around as if making sure no one was watching, then quickly leaned toward me. "Beatrice, I'm sorry to interfere," he whispered. I was shocked that he even knew my name. "I need to give you something." He pulled a folded piece of paper from his pocket and, while I was still trying to figure out what was going on, slipped it discreetly into my open handbag beside me. "This is about your husband," he added in an even quieter voice, avoiding my eyes. "Read it at home. Not here." The seriousness in his tone sent a chill down my spine. I wanted to ask him something, but he had already walked away toward his post at the entrance, pretending nothing had happened. I sat frozen on the couch, my heartbeat quickening. What could this mean? What information about Wayne was so important, yet so secret, that the guard couldn't just tell me? I looked at my bag. The note was hidden inside, invisible from the outside, yet I felt its presence as if it radiated some unsettling energy. I wanted to grab it right away and read it, but his words stopped me. "Not here." Why not here? What could possibly be written in that note that made it dangerous to read in the office? I glanced around. A few people were in the lobby, the receptionist typing at her computer, two men in suits talking by the elevator, several employees rushing by. Everything looked ordinary, yet now I felt as if everyone could be watching me. Time dragged unbearably slow. I tried to distract myself by looking at my phone again, but the words blurred before my eyes. My thoughts kept circling back to the note. What could the guard possibly know about Wayne? It's not like they talked. Wayne was the CFO of a big trading company that occupied 3 floors of this business center. He had his own office on the 8th floor, a secretary, subordinates. The guard just sat downstairs checking passes. How could he know anything important about my husband? Maybe he'd seen something. Or overheard. In office buildings, guards often witness things without meaning to. People ignore them, talk in front of them like they're invisible. But what could this older man have seen or heard that made him pass me a note in such a strange way? I thought back over the past few weeks, searching for any signs that something was wrong with Wayne. But everything seemed normal. He left for work at 8 a.m., came home around 7 p.m., sometimes later if there were meetings or reports to finish. On weekends we spent time with Catherine, went to my parents' country house, or just strolled around the city. Wayne had been the same as always, attentive, caring, maybe a little tired from work, but that was expected. His job always carried stress and responsibility. Although in the past month, he had been staying late more often. He said it was because of the annual report and an audit from headquarters. I hadn't thought much of it, it happened before too. But now, with that note in my bag, I started to wonder. What if these late nights were about something else? Finally, the elevator doors opened, and I saw Wayne. He walked toward me smiling, dressed in his favorite dark gray suit, briefcase in hand. He looked completely normal, even his tie was still perfectly straight despite the long day. When he spotted me, he quickened his pace. "Hi, darling," he said, leaning down to kiss my cheek. "Sorry, I'm a little late. I was signing some last documents." "Ready to pick out a gift for our princess?" I tried to smile back, but it came out strained. The note in my bag felt like it was burning a hole inside me. I felt like I was betraying him by keeping something secret, even though, in reality, someone had just told me he might be keeping something from me. "Yes, of course," I said, getting up from the couch. "Let's go." We headed to the exit. As we passed the security desk, I couldn't help glancing at the guard. He was sitting there buried in papers, not even lifting his head as we walked by. As if nothing had happened. As if he hadn't handed me a secret note 15 minutes ago. In the car, Wayne turned on the radio and started talking about which phone models were most popular with teenagers. He had researched it ahead of time, reading reviews, comparing specs. That was just like him, always thorough, always prepared. I nodded absent-mindedly, barely listening. My mind was somewhere else entirely. "You seemed distracted today," Wayne noticed as we stopped at a red light. "Everything okay?" "Yes, just a little tired," I lied. "Work was tough." That wasn't true. I worked as an accountant in a small stationery company, and today had been completely ordinary. But I couldn't tell him the truth. I couldn't say, "You know, the guard at your office just handed me a strange note about you, and now I'm dying of fear and curiosity about what it says. Maybe we should leave the shopping for tomorrow?" Wayne suggested with concern. "Or the weekend?" No, I quickly replied. "It's fine. Catherine is really looking forward to her gift. We can't put it off." The truth was, I just needed something to keep me occupied so I wouldn't go crazy from the suspense. Buying the phone took almost 2 hours. We walked around the store while Wayne grilled the sales assistants about each model, compared prices, features, warranties. Normally, that would have annoyed me. I would have told him to hurry up, that all phones are pretty much the same. But today, I was grateful for the delay. It gave me time to gather myself, to brace for whatever might be waiting at home. At last we chose the phone. Wayne insisted on getting an extended warranty and a protective case. Then we stopped at a cafe for dinner. Catherine was at her extra English classes and wouldn't be home until 9. We had time. Over dinner, Wayne talked about vacation plans. He wanted to go to the seaside, rent a house right by the water. He spoke about how good the sea air would be for Catherine, how we'd swim, sunbathe, take excursions. I watched him and tried to imagine what might be hiding behind that familiar face. We had been together for 16 years. We met back in college and got married right after graduation. I thought I knew everything about him, every mole on his body, every habit, every weakness. But now I wasn't so sure. "Are you sure you're okay?" Wayne asked again. "You've barely touched your food." I looked at my plate. My salad was almost untouched. "Just not that hungry," I said. "Maybe it's the heat." Wayne reached across the table and covered my hand with his. "Maybe you need a vacation too? You've been working a lot lately." His touch was warm and familiar. Guilt pricked at me. Maybe I was just overthinking. Maybe the note was nothing serious. Maybe the guard only wanted to tell me something trivial, like Wayne had forgotten his keys or some papers. But then why the secrecy? Why couldn't he just say it? At home, Catherine was already waiting. She heard us on the stairs and came running. "Well, did you buy it?" she asked, her eyes shining. Wayne solemnly handed her the phone box. Catherine squealed with joy and threw her arms around us. The next hour we spent helping her set up the new device, transfer her data, install apps. Catherine was in heaven. She took pictures of everything in sight, tested the camera, texted her friends to show off her gift. Finally, around 10, she went to her room clutching her treasure. Wayne turned on the TV and settled on the couch to watch the news. I told him I was going to take a shower. Instead, I locked myself in the bathroom and pulled the note from my bag. My hands shook as I unfolded the paper. It was just a sheet torn from a notebook. The handwriting was messy, rushed, like the writer had been in a hurry or nervous. I started reading, and with every line my heart beat faster. "Dear Beatrice," the note began. "Forgive me for interfering in your life, but my conscience won't let me stay silent. I've worked as a guard in this business center for 5 years and I've seen a lot. But what I learned about your husband made me write this letter. 2 weeks ago, I was on a night shift. Usually at night the offices are empty, except for cleaners and occasionally someone staying late. That night I was doing my rounds, checking the floors. When I got to the 8th floor, where your husband's office is, I heard voices inside. It was strange, it was almost 2 in the morning. I went closer to check. The door was ajar, and I saw your husband. He wasn't alone. There was a woman with him. Young, maybe 25 or 30, with long dark hair. I don't know who she is, but I've seen her in the office before. I think she works in accounting. They didn't notice me, they were too busy with each other. I won't describe details of what I saw, but I can say it wasn't work-related. I left quickly, not wanting them to notice me. But that wasn't all. After that night, I started paying more attention to your husband. I noticed that woman often visits his office. Sometimes they leave together and get into his car. Yesterday, I overheard their conversation in the elevator by accident. They didn't know I was nearby. The woman was talking about an apartment they'd looked at. She said she liked it and wanted them to move in as soon as possible. Your husband said they needed to wait a bit longer, that he'd sort everything out soon. I thought a long time about whether I should tell you. It's not my place to interfere in someone's family. But today, when I saw you in the lobby, so calm and unsuspecting, I couldn't keep silent. You have the right to know the truth. Forgive me if I've hurt you. But it's better to find out now than later, when it's too late. Be careful. I don't know what your husband is planning, but from their talk about the apartment, it looks like he's preparing to leave you. Sincerely, Brian Lane. The office guard, where my husband worked, had quietly slipped the note into my bag and said, "This is about your husband. Read it when you're at home." I had been speechless then and rushed home. But when I read the note, I was struck dumb with horror. I finished reading the note and felt the ground slip from under me. I sat on the edge of the bathtub, still clutching that cursed piece of paper. My head was foggy. I couldn't believe what I had just read. Wayne was cheating on me. Worse, he was planning to leave, already looking at an apartment to live in with another woman. 16 years of marriage. 16 years I thought we had a perfect family. Yes, we had our struggles, our arguments, but I always believed we could handle anything together. And now I found out that while I was making plans for a family vacation, my husband was making plans for a new life with someone else. I tried to recall the past few months, searching for signs I had missed. Yes, Wayne had been staying late at work more often. Yes, sometimes he seemed distracted, lost in thought. A few times I'd noticed him quickly put away his phone when I walked into the room. But I brushed it off as tiredness, work stress. Never, not for a second, did I imagine he might have another woman. And those late nights. How many times did Wayne tell me he had to stay late to finish an important project, to prepare a presentation? And I believed him. I made him dinner, left it in the fridge, wrote him notes wishing him luck. All while he was with her, that young accountant from his office. 25 or 30, the guard had written. I looked at myself in the mirror. I was 42. I looked good for my age, went to the gym, took care of myself. But still, how could I compete with a 25-year-old? She had her whole life ahead of her, she was young, fresh, full of energy. And me? I was the tired mother of a teenager, weighed down by work and chores, just another middle-aged woman. Outside the door, I heard Wayne's voice. "Beatrice, are you going to be much longer?" "I'd like a shower too." "Just a bit," I answered, trying to keep my voice steady. I quickly shoved the note into my robe pocket and turned on the water, pretending to shower. Standing under the hot spray, I tried to figure out what to do next. Should I confront Wayne, tell him I knew about his affair? Start a fight? But what good would that do? He'd deny it, say the guard was mistaken or lying. I had no proof, only a stranger's words. Or should I act like I knew nothing, try to find out more? Follow him, check his phone, his email? Gather evidence of betrayal. But did I really want to turn into a jealous, spying wife? And if I did find proof, then what? Or maybe I should talk to him calmly, without accusations. Ask if everything was okay, if he was happy in our marriage. Give him the chance to confess. But would he even tell the truth? And was I ready to hear it? I got out of the shower, dried off, and slipped into my pajamas. In the bedroom, Wayne was already lying in bed, scrolling through his tablet. When he saw me, he set it aside and smiled. "Come here," he said, pulling back the blanket. "It's been a while since we spent some time just the two of us." I froze. He wanted intimacy now, after being with another woman? How could he? "Sorry, I've got a headache," I said, turning away. "Probably too much sun today. Want me to bring you a pill?" Wayne asked gently. "No, thanks. I'll just sleep it off." I lay down on my side of the bed, turned away from him. He switched off the light and settled beside me. Soon his breathing grew slow and steady. He was asleep. I stared at the ceiling in the dark, thinking about how my whole life had turned out to be a lie. The next morning I woke with a heavy head and the feeling of a crushing weight on my chest. For a moment I couldn't remember why I felt so awful. Then it came back. The note. Wayne's betrayal. The other woman. His side of the bed was empty. The clock read 7:30. He had gotten up early as usual and was probably already in the kitchen. I heard dishes clinking, the radio playing. Normal morning sounds that used to feel cozy and safe now seemed fake, staged. I went downstairs. Wayne was at the table, drinking coffee and scrolling through the news on his phone. Catherine was eating oatmeal while typing something on her new phone. "Good morning," Wayne said, looking up. "How's your head? Better?" For a second I didn't understand, then remembered my excuse from last night. "Yes, better. Thanks." I sat down, poured myself coffee. My hands trembled slightly, and I hoped no one noticed. I watched Wayne, searching his face for some sign of deceit. But he looked the same as always, calm, collected, a little distant, lost in his thoughts. "Mom, can I go to Emma's after school?" Catherine asked. "We want to work on our biology project together." "Of course," I said automatically. "Just don't stay too late." Catherine finished her tea, kissed me on the cheek, and ran off to get ready for school. That left just me and Wayne. The silence hung heavy. Normally we'd chat about the day ahead, share small updates. But this morning I couldn't bring myself to keep up the act. "I'll be late again tonight," Wayne said, finishing his coffee. "Meeting with investors, then I'll need to discuss everything with the team." A meeting with investors, or a date with his mistress? I looked at him, trying to tell if he was lying. Maybe both? Maybe a meeting first, then her. "What time will you be back?" I asked, forcing my tone to sound casual. "Not sure. Around 9 or 10. Don't wait on me for dinner, I'll grab something at the office." At the office. With her. I pictured them in his office, eating sushi or pizza, laughing, touching each other. My throat tightened. Wayne stood, came over, and kissed the top of my head. Our usual morning ritual, the one we'd repeated thousands of times over the years. But today his touch made me feel physically sick. "Bye, darling. Have a good day," he said, and left. I sat in the kitchen staring at my cooling cup of coffee. I needed to get ready for work, but I couldn't make myself move. My head was full of one thought: what to do next. Suddenly, an idea came. Since Wayne would be late tonight, I had time to go to his office in the evening. Maybe I could see this woman, figure out who she was. Maybe even talk to her. Find out the truth directly, not from a third hand. It was a risky plan. Wayne might see me, and then I'd have to explain myself. But I needed clarity. I couldn't go on living in limbo, wondering every day where my husband was and with whom. At work, I could barely focus. I went through the motions, answered calls, filled out documents, but my thoughts were far away. A few colleagues asked if I was okay. I joked that I just hadn't slept well. During my lunch break, I went outside and called Wayne's office. His secretary, Irene, picked up. "Good afternoon, Irene. This is Beatrice, Wayne's wife. Does he really have a meeting with investors today?" "Good afternoon, Beatrice. Yes, the meeting is set for 5 p.m. Did something happen?" "No, everything's fine. I just wanted to check. He left some papers at home, and I wasn't sure if he needed them," I lied. "One moment, I'll ask," Irene said. I heard her set the phone down, muffled voices in the background. Then she came back. "Wayne says he has everything, but thanks for checking." So the meeting was real. But that didn't mean he wouldn't see his mistress afterward. I thanked Irene and hung up. The rest of the workday dragged on endlessly. I checked the clock every 5 minutes, counting down to evening. Finally, at 6, I shut down my computer and headed out. "Leaving already?" My colleague Jessica asked in surprise. "You usually stay until 7. "Yeah, I've got things to do," I replied shortly. The business center where Wayne worked was a 30-minute drive from my office. I got there around 6:30 and parked where I could watch the entrance without being seen from inside. The wait was long. People streamed out in groups and alone, hurrying to their cars or the bus stop. I studied every face, searching for Wayne or a woman who fit the guard's description. Young, 25 or 30, with long dark hair. By around 8, the flow of people had nearly stopped. Only a few floors still had lights on, including the 8th, where Wayne's office was. I was starting to think this was pointless, that I wouldn't see anything, when 2 people walked out. It was Wayne. And with him, a woman. Exactly as the guard described. Young, slim, long dark hair, wearing a tight black dress and high heels. They walked side by side, talking animatedly. Wayne gestured while speaking, and she laughed, throwing her head back. My breath caught. There it was, the proof. They didn't look like colleagues discussing business. There was an intimacy in their movements, in the way they looked at each other. Something beyond work. They walked to Wayne's car. He opened the door for her like a gentleman. She got in, and he circled around to the driver's seat. A moment later, the car pulled out of the lot. I started my engine and followed at a distance. My heart was pounding so hard I was afraid I'd lose control of the wheel. But I had to know where they were going. Was it the apartment the guard mentioned? They drove toward the city center. I trailed them carefully, not too close but not losing sight either. After 20 minutes, Wayne turned into the underground parking garage of a luxury apartment complex in an upscale neighborhood. A new building, just a couple of years old. Apartments that cost a fortune. I parked on the street and waited. Maybe they were visiting a client, a partner. But time passed, and they didn't come back. An hour. Then 2. Darkness fell, windows in the building lit up. I sat there staring at the glowing windows, wondering which one held my husband and another woman. Around 11 I couldn't take it anymore and drove home. Catherine was already asleep. I showered, went to bed, and pretended to be sleeping when Wayne finally returned around midnight. He undressed quietly and slipped into bed beside me. He smelled of someone else's perfume. A sweet, floral scent. I lay in the dark, fighting back tears. I had no doubts left. Wayne was cheating. And not just a fling, it was serious. They were apartment hunting together, planning a future. And me, his wife, the mother of his child, just an obstacle in the way of his new life. The next morning, I made up my mind. I wasn't going to sit by and watch my husband destroy our family. I would find out who this woman was, how long the affair had been going on, and what Wayne planned to do next. Then I'd decide my own move. I called work and asked for a day off, blaming it on not feeling well. After Wayne left for the office and Catherine for school, I sat down at the computer. First, I checked Wayne's social media. Nothing suspicious. Photos from corporate events, a few family shots, holiday greetings from friends and coworkers. So I tried another way. I called Wayne's office and asked to be connected to accounting. I said I needed a tax consultation and wanted to speak to one of the younger specialists who was up to date with the latest law changes. "We have Elena, she's very competent," the receptionist offered. "Do you have someone younger?" I asked. Sometimes the older generation isn't as quick with new regulations. "There's Anna Connell, she's 28. She's new here, but very skilled." Anna Connell. I wrote down the name. Could I meet her in person? My question is pretty complicated. "Of course, I'll put you through to her and you can arrange something." A moment later, a young woman's voice came on the line. "This is Anna Connell." I introduced myself under a fake name and said I wanted advice on tax issues for selling property. We agreed to meet tomorrow at a cafe near the business center. I hung up the phone and opened a search engine, typing in the name Anna Connell. Several social media profiles came up. I clicked on the first one and froze. Looking back at me from the screen was the very same woman I had seen with Wayne last night. Young, beautiful, confident. Her page was open for viewing. I started scrolling through the photos. There she was on vacation in Miami, at a friend's birthday party, at the gym. And then I stumbled upon a picture that knocked the breath out of me. It was taken a month ago. Anna stood against the backdrop of the sea, and beside her was a man. His face wasn't visible, he was turned away from the camera. But I knew that figure, that posture, those shoulders. It was Wayne. The caption read, "Best weekend in Myrtle Beach." A month ago, Wayne told me he was going on a business trip to Atlanta. An important work trip, big negotiations. I had even helped him pack his suitcase, iron shirts, folded ties. And instead he went to the beach with his mistress. I kept going through her page. In her recent posts there were many photos from restaurants I recognized. Expensive places we hadn't been to in years. "We have to save," Wayne always said. "We've got a kid, a mortgage, we have to think about the future." Meanwhile, he was taking his mistress to those restaurants. In the comments under her photos, her friends wrote cryptic things. "You're glowing. Wedding soon? When do we get to meet him?" Anna replied with smiley faces and vague answers. But it was clear she had a man in her life, someone she was serious about. I closed the laptop and leaned back in my chair. My head was spinning. My husband wasn't just cheating. He was in a full-blown relationship, maybe for months, maybe longer. They went on trips together, dined out, rented an apartment. Living a parallel life I knew nothing about. How could he? How could he look me in the eye every day, kiss me goodbye, say I love you while lying to me? How could he sit at the family table, talk about vacation plans, about Catherine's future, knowing he was planning to leave us? And Catherine. Oh God, Catherine. What was I supposed to tell her? How could I explain that her dad wouldn't be living with us anymore, that he had chosen another woman who was only 14 years older than her? It would shatter her world, her faith in family, in love. I didn't realize I was crying until tears started falling onto the keyboard. 16 years of marriage. 16 years I thought we had a strong family, that we could get through anything. Turns out I'd been living in an illusion. Wiping my face, I tried to pull myself together. Falling apart wasn't an option. I had to think about what to do next. Tomorrow I would meet Anna Connell. Try to hear the truth from her. Maybe she didn't know Wayne was married. Maybe he was lying to her too, saying he was single or divorced. Or maybe she knew and didn't care. Some women enjoy stealing other people's husbands. For them it's a sport, proof of their own attractiveness. The rest of the day passed in a strange daze. I went through the motions, cooked dinner, helped Catherine with her homework, trying to act normal so she wouldn't suspect anything. But inside I was boiling with pain, anger, betrayal. That evening Wayne came home late again. He said he was tired, ate quickly, and went straight to bed. I looked at him and barely recognized him. The man who had been closest to me for 16 years now felt like a stranger. Like someone in disguise who had been living beside me all this time. That night I couldn't sleep again. I lay awake thinking about the meeting with Anna. What would I say? How would I start? And was I ready to hear the truth, whatever it might be? In the morning, after everyone left, I got ready for the meeting. I chose a strict business suit, did my makeup, styled my hair. I wanted to look confident, like a strong woman, not a broken, betrayed wife. The cafe where we agreed to meet was small and cozy. I arrived 15 minutes early, picked a table in the corner with a view of the entrance, and ordered coffee. My hand shook slightly as I brought the cup to my lips. Right on time, Anna walked in. In person, she was even more beautiful than in her photos. Tall, slim, perfect posture, confident walk. She wore an elegant gray dress with black heels. Businesslike, but with style. She glanced around, and I waved to her. Anna came over and sat across from me. "Hello," she said with a professional smile. "You're Gladys, right?" That was the name I had given her on the phone. "Yes, hello. Thank you for agreeing to meet." "Not at all. So, what's your question about taxes?" I took a deep breath. The moment of truth. "Actually, Anna, I didn't invite you for tax advice." Her eyebrows shot up in surprise. "Then what for?" "My name is Beatrice Rhodes. I'm Wayne Rhodes's wife." Anna's face changed instantly. The professional smile disappeared, her eyes widened in shock. She opened her mouth to say something, but no words came out. "I know about your relationship," I continued, trying to stay calm. "And I'd like to talk to you about it." Anna stayed silent for a few seconds, then pulled herself together. "I don't know what you mean. Wayne is my boss, and we only have a professional relationship." "Please, don't lie," I said softly. "I saw you together last night. I saw you leave the office with him, go to the apartment downtown, and stay there until midnight." Anna went pale. "You followed us?" "I have the right to know where my husband spends his time," I replied. "Especially when he tells me he's working late." Silence settled between us. Anna stared at her untouched coffee. I waited, giving her time. "He told me you were divorced," she finally said quietly. "That you'd been living apart for a year, just hadn't filed the papers yet because of your child." I gave a bitter smile. The classic excuse of a married man. "No, Anna, we're not divorced. We live together, we sleep in the same bed, we're raising our daughter. At least, that's what I thought until recently." "I didn't know," Anna whispered. Her eyes filled with tears. "I swear, I didn't know. He told me he was free. He showed me a rented apartment where he claimed to be living after the divorce. He said he wanted to start a new life with me." "How long have you been together?" I asked, even though the answer cut deep. 8 months, Anna said, and I felt my insides collapse. 8 months. For 8 months my husband had been living a double life. For 8 months he lied to me every single day. "Tell me everything," I asked. "I need to know the truth." Anna wiped her tears with a napkin and started talking. They met when she first joined the company. Wayne had been attentive, helped her adjust. Then came shared lunches, long talks after work. He told her he was lonely, that his wife didn't understand him, that they had been strangers for years. "He said you had agreed to live together only for your daughter," Anna explained. "That there was no intimacy between you anymore, that you slept in different rooms. That once your daughter went to college, you'd officially divorce." Every word was like a knife. Wayne hadn't just betrayed me physically, he painted me as a cold, indifferent wife. When all these years it was me keeping the spark alive. I was the one planning romantic evenings, initiating closeness, fighting to hold on to our passion. The apartment you two looked at? I asked. Is he planning to buy it? Anna nodded. He already did. Took out a mortgage. We were supposed to move in next month. He said by then he'd talk to you, explain everything, and you'd separate amicably. He bought an apartment. Took out a mortgage. Planned a whole new life. And all the while he played the role of loving husband and father. The hypocrisy was unbearable. Anna, I said, looking her straight in the eyes. I don't blame you. You're as much a victim of his lies as I am. But now you know the truth. The question is, what will you do with it? She stayed quiet for a long time, then lifted her tearful eyes to me. I can't be with someone who lies so easily. If he's been deceiving you all this time, he'll deceive me too. I am ending it. That's your choice, I nodded. But may I ask you one favor? What is it? Don't tell Wayne about our meeting. Not yet. I need time to figure out what to do. I have a daughter to protect from this nightmare. Anna nodded. Of course. I understand. And I'm sorry. If I'd known the truth, I never would have gotten involved with a married man. We parted ways outside the cafe. Anna walked away, hunched over, her confidence gone. I sat in my car for a long time, unable to start the engine. My mind was chaos. On one hand, I had proof of Wayne's affair. On the other, I learned it was worse than I'd imagined. 8 months of deceit, a new apartment, plans for a future with another woman. At home, I pulled out our photo albums. I flipped through the pages, looking at the pictures of our happy family. Our wedding day, Wayne young and handsome, gazing at me with love. Catherine's birth, he held her tiny body wrapped in a pink blanket, tears of joy on his face. A vacation 3 years ago, us standing on the beach, laughing, arms wrapped around each other. When did it all go wrong? When did love turn into lies? When did my husband become a stranger? The phone ringing pulled me out of my thoughts. It was Wayne. Hi, darling, he said. Listen, I'll be late again tonight. Don't wait on me for dinner. Another meeting? I asked, letting sarcasm slip into my voice, not that he noticed. Yeah, important negotiations. Might run late. Negotiations. With Anna, probably. I wondered if she'd tell him about our meeting or keep her promise. All right, I said. Don't stay too late. I'll try. Love you. Love you. The words rolled off his tongue so easily. Lies came to him so naturally. Love you too, I replied and hung up. That evening, while Catherine worked on her homework, I sat at the computer and started researching divorce. What documents were needed, how property was divided, what happened with custody. I had to prepare myself for what was coming. Around 10, the doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone. I peeked through the peephole. Anna was standing there. I opened the door. She looked awful, red, swollen eyes, smudged makeup, messy hair. Sorry for showing up, she said. But I needed to talk to you. I let her in, took her to the kitchen, poured her some water. She drank it in one gulp and looked at me. I told Wayne, she said. I told him I knew the truth, that he was married, that he had lied to me. And what did he say? At first he denied it. Then, when I said I'd spoken to you, he admitted it. But you know what's the worst part? He isn't sorry. He said he was going to leave you anyway. That our talk just sped things up. I felt anger rising inside me. No remorse. He thought he was in the right. He said he's coming home tonight to tell you everything, Anna continued. That he doesn't want to live a lie anymore. How noble of him. After 8 months of lies, he finally decided to be honest. Thank you for warning me, I said. It's the least I could do, Anna replied. And one more thing. He's not the man he pretends to be. Today, when I told him I was leaving, he grabbed my arm so hard I've got bruises. He told me I'd regret it. That no one walks away from him. She rolled up her sleeve. The bruises were right there, shaped like fingers. I stared at them in disbelief. Wayne, who in 16 years had never once raised a hand against me, capable of violence. You need to go to the police, I told her. Report the assault. No, Anna shook her head. I just want to forget this. I'll quit, find another job, start over. I only came to warn you. Be careful. After she left, I checked all the locks, then went to Catherine. She was already in bed, reading something on her phone. Catherine, I said, sitting down on the edge of her bed. Can I talk to you? Of course, Mom. Did something happen? How could I explain? How could I tell a 14-year-old girl that her father, the man she adored, was a liar and a cheat? I just wanted to tell you I love you, I said, stroking her hair. Whatever happens, remember I'll always be here for you. Mom, you're scaring me, Catherine frowned. What's going on? Nothing, sweetheart. I'm just feeling sentimental. Go to sleep. I kissed her forehead and left the room. In the hallway I stopped, leaning against the wall. How could I protect my daughter from what was coming? How could I soften the blow? Wayne came home around midnight. I sat in the living room, pretending to watch TV. I heard the key turn in the lock, the sound of him taking off his shoes. My heart pounded, but I forced myself to stay calm. He walked into the living room and stopped in the doorway. His face showed tension, determination, and relief. Beatrice, we need to talk, he said. I'm listening, I replied, not turning my head. Wayne came in and sat in the chair across from me. For a few seconds he was silent, collecting his thoughts, then he began. I know you already know. Anna told me you met. So I won't beat around the bush. I've been seeing another woman. For 8 months. I love her, and I want to be with her. Just like that. No apologies, no remorse. Just a statement of fact. And what do you propose? I asked, surprised at how calm I sounded. Divorce, he said. Civilized, no scandals. You and Catherine keep the apartment, I'll pay child support. We can arrange visitation in a way that won't traumatize her too much. So neat. So rational. Like he was discussing a business deal, not tearing a family apart. And what about 16 years of marriage? I asked. Do they mean nothing? Wayne sighed. Beatrice, let's be honest. Our marriage has been over for a long time. We're like roommates, nothing more. No passion, no real intimacy. We just got used to each other. That's how you see it, I said. To me, our marriage was real. I loved you, trusted you, made plans for our future. And all this time, you were lying. I never wanted to hurt you, he said, but there was no sincerity in his voice. It just happened. I met Anna, and I finally understood what real love is. Real love. After 16 years of marriage, he dared to call what he had with another woman real love. Does she know you used force on her? I asked. That you left bruises on her arm? Wayne tensed. She told you? That was a mistake. I didn't mean to. I just got angry when she said she was leaving. And you think that excuses it? I'm not excusing myself, he snapped. I'm just explaining. Things with Anna are over. She made her choice. But that doesn't change the fact that our marriage is dead and we need to divorce. I stood up and walked to the window. Outside, the city lights flickered. Somewhere out there people were living their lives, loving, hurting, hoping. And here, in this room, my life was falling apart. Fine, I said without turning around. We'll get divorced. But on my terms. What terms? The apartment stays with me and Catherine. You'll pay 50% of your income in child support. And most importantly, you will be the one to explain to your daughter why you're leaving. You won't lie to her, won't say we just fell out of love. You'll tell her the truth, that you cheated on me for 8 months. That's cruel, Wayne argued. Why traumatize her with details? She has the right to know the truth, I said firmly. And it's better she hears it from you than from someone else. Wayne was silent, weighing my words. Finally, he nodded. All right. But I want to take my things and move out tomorrow. Go ahead, I said. The sooner, the better. He got up and walked toward the door. At the doorway, he turned back. Beatrice, I am sorry it turned out this way. No, you're not, I shook my head. If you were sorry, you wouldn't have lied for 8 months. You wouldn't have bought an apartment to live with another woman. You wouldn't have planned a new life behind my back. So don't give me fake regrets. Just go. Wayne left, and I stayed at the window. At last, the tears came, running down my cheeks. I cried for the lost years, the broken hopes, the family that no longer existed. But deep inside, beneath the pain and anger, a new feeling stirred. Relief. No more living in lies, no more pretending everything was fine. The truth, however bitter, was better than a beautiful lie. In the morning I woke with a heavy head, almost convincing myself the conversation with Wayne had been a bad dream. But the empty half of the bed and the sound of him packing in the next room quickly dragged me back to reality. I got up, showered, and went downstairs to make breakfast. I had to keep things normal, at least for Catherine's sake. She came down half an hour later, sleepy and disheveled. Dad, why are you up so early? She asked when she saw Wayne with a large sports bag in his hands. Where are you going? Wayne glanced at me. I nodded. It was time. Catherine, sit down, he said, setting the bag on the floor. We need to talk. Catherine looked from her father to me, her eyes filling with worry. Kids always sense when something serious is happening. What's going on? She asked, slowly sitting down at the table. Wayne sat across from her and took her hands. I could see him struggling to find the right words. Catherine, your mom and I have made a decision. We've decided to get a divorce. She yanked her hands out of his like she'd been burned. What? Why? You love each other. Sometimes love isn't enough, Wayne began, but I cut him off. Catherine, your dad met another woman. He's been seeing her for 8 months and wants to live with her, not with us. Wayne shot me a furious look, but I didn't flinch. We'd agreed to tell the truth. Catherine stared at him like she was seeing him for the first time. Pain and disbelief mixed in her eyes. Is that true, Dad? She whispered. Wayne lowered his head. Yes. It's true. I didn't plan for it to happen. It just did. Just happened? Catherine jumped up, her voice shaking with anger and hurt. You cheated on Mom for 8 months, and you call that just happened? What about us? What about me? Catherine, this has nothing to do with you, Wayne tried to calm her. I'll always be your father, I'll always love you. Don't you dare. Catherine screamed. Don't you dare talk about love. You betrayed Mom, you betrayed me, you betrayed our family. I hate you. She ran out of the kitchen, and a second later her bedroom door slammed upstairs. Wayne and I sat in silence. You did that on purpose, he finally said. You turned her against me. I told her the truth, I replied. You wanted honesty. I didn't think you'd spell it out so harshly. And how did you imagine it? That we'd lie? Tell her we just fell out of love? She would have found out eventually. Wayne stood up and grabbed his bag. I'll come back for the rest of my things later. When Catherine calms down, I'll try talking to her. Give her time, I said. She's not ready to hear you right now. He nodded and headed for the door. At the doorway, he turned back. My divorce papers are with my lawyer. He'll contact you. And then he left. just walked out of our lives, leaving me to pick up the pieces of my teenage daughter's broken heart. I went upstairs to Catherine's room and knocked. "Go away," she cried through her tears. "Catherine, it's Mom. Can I come in?" Silence. Then a quiet, "Come in." She was lying on her bed, face buried in her pillow, her shoulders shaking. I sat down beside her and stroked her back. "Mom," she sobbed, turning toward me. "How could he? How could Dad do this?" I hugged her tight. "I don't know, sweetheart. Sometimes people change. Sometimes they hurt the ones they love. He doesn't love us anymore?" "He loves you," I said, though the words nearly choked me. "Whatever happens between me and Dad, you'll always be his daughter." "I don't want to see him," Catherine wiped her tears. "Never again. That's how you feel right now. And that's okay. But maybe, with time, you'll change your mind." "No. He's a traitor. He destroyed our family." I didn't argue. She had every right to feel betrayed. Wayne hadn't just betrayed me, he had betrayed her too. He'd shattered her idea of family, of love, of loyalty. We spent the rest of the day together. I canceled everything, and Catherine didn't go to school. We watched movies, ate ice cream straight from the tub, cried and hugged. By evening, she was calmer, but I knew the wound was still raw and would take a long time to heal. The next day, Wayne's lawyer called. A young man with a polite voice explained the divorce procedure and listed the documents I'd need. Wayne had agreed to all my terms. The apartment stayed with me, child support would be half his income, and he wouldn't make any claims on shared property. "Your husband wants this handled as quickly as possible," the lawyer said. "If you don't contest it, you'll be legally divorced in a month." A month. In a month, 16 years of marriage would be reduced to a divorce certificate. So easy to destroy what took years to build. I hired my own lawyer, a seasoned woman named Vivian Olson, with years of family law experience. She reviewed everything carefully and assured me my interests would be protected. "Don't worry," she said. "I've handled plenty of these cases. Right now, the most important thing is thinking about yourself and your daughter." News of our divorce spread quickly. Calls came in with sympathy, offers of help, and people fishing for details. I kept my answers short, avoiding explanations. I didn't want my pain turned into gossip. My mother called the moment she found out. "I'm coming over," she announced without preamble. "Mom, you don't have to. I've got it under control. Beatrice, don't argue. My granddaughter is hurting, you're hurting. I need to be there." And she came, with her pies, endless hugs, and quiet motherly support. Catherine clung to her, finding comfort she couldn't get from me. I was too wounded myself to be her rock. "I always knew he wasn't the man he pretended to be," Mom said that evening, once Catherine had gone to bed. "Too smooth, too perfect. Men like that often have a dark side. Why didn't you tell me sooner?" I asked bitterly. "Would you have listened? You were in love, you were happy. I hoped I was wrong." Wayne tried to see Catherine a week after he left. He called, said he wanted to talk, to explain. Catherine refused. Flat out. "Tell him I don't want to see him," she said to me. "And I won't answer his calls." I passed Wayne her words. He was silent for a long time, then said, "You're turning her against me." "No, Wayne. You did that yourself when you betrayed our family. I have the right to see my daughter. You do. But I can't force her to meet with you. Give her time." He got angry, threatened court orders and forced visits. But my lawyer reassured me, at 14, Catherine had the right to decide whether she wanted to see a parent. 2 weeks passed. Life slowly found a new rhythm. I went to work, managed the house, helped Catherine with homework. On the surface, everything seemed almost normal. But inside was emptiness. For 16 years I had been a wife, part of a couple. Now I had to learn how to just be myself. One evening, the doorbell rang. I opened it, expecting a courier or a neighbor. But Anna was standing there. "Sorry for dropping by unannounced," she said. "Can we talk?" I let her in. We went to the kitchen. She looked terrible, thinner, with dark circles under her eyes. "I wanted to see how you're doing," she began. "And to warn you." "About what?" "Wayne hasn't let go. After I left him, he started stalking me. Calls 100 times a day, shows up outside my place, at work. I quit, but he found me at the new job. He threatens to ruin my career if I don't go back to him." I stared at her, unable to believe what I was hearing. The Wayne I thought I knew for 16 years couldn't be capable of this. Or maybe I never knew the real him. "Did you go to the police?" "Yes. But they said unless he hurts me physically, they can't do anything. Calls and visits aren't a crime." "What are you going to do?" "I'm leaving. Another city, maybe another state. I'll start over. I just wanted to warn you. He's obsessed with getting me back. And when he realizes that's impossible, I'm afraid he'll turn to you. Try to win his family back." After she left, I sat in the kitchen for a long time, turning her words over in my mind. Had Wayne really changed so much? Or had he always been this way, just hiding his true nature? The next day I changed the locks and installed an alarm system. Just in case. I told Catherine's school not to release her to anyone, even her father, without my permission. 3 days later Wayne showed up at the house. I saw him through the window, standing by the gate, looking up at the windows. In his hands was a bouquet of my favorite white roses. I didn't open the door, though he rang for 10 minutes. Then he left, leaving the flowers on the porch. I threw them out without reading the note. He came a few more times, leaving gifts and letters. I didn't read them. I threw them away unopened. Then came the calls. 20, 30 a day. I blocked his number, but he used others. "Beatrice, please, talk to me," he said in voicemails. I know I made a mistake. Anna meant nothing. You and Catherine are my real family. Give me a chance to fix this. I deleted the messages without listening to the end. Too late for regret. Too much damage done. Catherine got messages too. She showed them to me. He wrote about how much he loved her, missed her, wanted to come back. Promised to be a better father. Catherine never answered, but I could see it hurt her. For all her anger, she still loved him. She just couldn't forgive the betrayal. The breaking point came a month later, the day before the final divorce hearing. I came home from work and found Wayne waiting outside. He looked awful, unshaven, wrinkled clothes, red eyes from lack of sleep. "Beatrice, we need to talk," he said, blocking my way. "There's nothing to talk about, Wayne. Tomorrow the court makes it official. Go." "No." He grabbed my arm. "You have to listen. I love you. I always have. Anna was a mistake, a lapse in judgment. I want to come home." "Home?" I pulled my arm free. "You don't have a home here anymore. You destroyed it yourself. I can fix it. Just give me a chance." "A chance?" You lied to me for 8 months, built a life with another woman, bought an apartment for her. And now that she's gone, you remember your family? It's not like that. I realized I loved you before Anna left. I just didn't know how to come back, how to ask for forgiveness. And your way of handling that was to stalk Anna? Threaten her?" Wayne went pale. "She told you?" That was a moment of madness. I was angry, hurt. But that's in the past. Now I'm only thinking about you and Catherine. Catherine doesn't want to see you. She'll change her mind. If you talk to her, explain what? That you're sorry? That you love us? Wayne, you shattered her trust in you. That doesn't come back with a snap of your fingers. But you could try. For the sake of our family. There is no family anymore, I said wearily. You killed it when you chose another woman. Now live with that choice. I walked past him toward the building. Wayne followed. I won't give up, he shouted. I'll fight for my family. I didn't answer. I went inside and closed the door behind me. My hands shook as I pressed the elevator button. There had been a threat in his voice. What did he mean by fight? At home, I told Mom about the encounter. She frowned. Maybe you should go to the police? And tell them what? That my ex-husband wants to come back to the family? They'll just laugh. But what if he does something dangerous? I don't think he's capable of anything serious. It's just emotions. Tomorrow's the divorce, and he'll calm down. How wrong I was. That night, I woke up to the smell of smoke. I jumped out of bed and ran into the hallway. Smoke was pouring in from under the front door. Fire. Mom. Catherine. I screamed, rushing to their rooms. Mom was already coming out, Catherine too, startled awake by my shouts. We ran to the front door, but it was blocked from the outside. Someone had set fire to something right at our door, and the flames were spreading fast. The window! I yelled. Kitchen! We ran to the kitchen. I threw open the window. Second floor. A dangerous jump, but there was no choice. The smoke was getting thicker. Catherine, you go first. Mom, I'm scared. Jump. Now. Catherine climbed out and jumped. I heard her cry out, but then she shouted, I'm okay. Mom went next. I was last. I landed badly, twisted my ankle, but it didn't matter. We were alive. Neighbors had already called the fire department and police. The fire was put out quickly, but the door and part of the hallway were badly damaged. A police officer looked around and confirmed what I already suspected. This was arson. Someone poured gasoline on your door and lit it. Do you have suspects? I told him about Wayne, his threats, the stalking. He wrote it all down, promised to investigate. We were taken to the hospital. Smoke inhalation, and for me a sprained ankle. Nothing serious, but the doctor insisted on keeping us overnight for observation. The next morning, an investigator came. He said Wayne had been arrested. Surveillance cameras caught him entering the building an hour before the fire and leaving just minutes before the flames started. Did he confess? I asked. He denies everything. Says he came to talk, but you didn't open the door, so he left. But the evidence against him is strong. He's looking at up to 5 years for arson and attempted murder. Attempted murder. My husband, father of my child, the man I'd lived with for 16 years, had tried to kill us. I still couldn't believe it. The divorce hearing was postponed. Wayne was in custody, represented by his lawyer. The divorce went through in absentia. I got the papers without ever seeing my ex again. The criminal trial dragged on for months. Wayne kept denying everything. His lawyer tried to claim the evidence was circumstantial. But the video, the threats, Anna's testimony, it all worked against him. Anna came to court as a witness. She described his aggression, showed saved threatening messages. I testified too, though it was hard, seeing Wayne on the defendant's bench, seeing what he had become. Catherine didn't come. She couldn't. For her, her father had died the day she found out about the affair. And the fire had buried whatever scraps of feeling she had left. The verdict, 3 years in prison. Less than it could have been, but Wayne's lawyer managed to paint him as a man in emotional turmoil who lost control in the stress of the divorce. As the judge read the sentence, Wayne looked at me. The hatred in his eyes made my blood run cold. Even then, with his life in ruins, he blamed me instead of himself. After court, I went up to Anna. Thank you for coming, for testifying. It's the least I could do, she said. I feel guilty about all of this. If it weren't for me, if it hadn't been you, it would have been someone else. I cut her off. Wayne was looking for excitement, something new. You just happened to be there at the right time. How can you be so calm? After everything he did? I thought for a moment before answering. I'm not calm. Inside, it's a storm. But I have a daughter who needs a strong mother. I have a life I need to rebuild. I can't afford to fall apart. We said goodbye. I doubted we'd ever cross paths again. But in a strange way, she'd done me a favor. Thanks to her, I'd learned the truth about the man I lived with. I learned it in time to start over. The way home after court felt endless. Mom and Catherine were waiting. We hugged without words. Everything had already been said. It's over now, right? Catherine asked. Yes, sweetheart. It's over now. But I was wrong. It was only the beginning of new trials. A week after the trial, I got a letter. No return address, no signature. Inside was a photo of our family, me, Wayne, and little Catherine at the beach in Myrtle Beach. Happy, sun-kissed, smiling. On the back, in Wayne's handwriting, I'll be out in 2 years with good behavior. We'll meet again. Wayne's handwriting. How had he managed to send it from prison? And what exactly was the threat supposed to mean? I showed it to the investigator. He promised to look into it, to tighten control over Wayne's mail. But I knew it wouldn't change much. He had found a way to send this letter outside the system. He'd find another way too. Fear settled in my chest. 2 years wasn't long. What would happen when he got out? Would he try to hurt us again? Or was this just his way of scaring me, a twisted act of revenge? Maybe we should move, Mom suggested. Sell the apartment, leave this city. Start fresh somewhere else. I thought about it. But Catherine was in a good school, she had friends. I had a job, a settled life. Should we really run, hide from a man who was already serving time? No, I decided. We wouldn't run. This was our home, our life. We weren't going to let him corner us even from prison. Still, I took precautions. I installed security cameras, signed a contract with a security company for a panic button, warned the neighbors to watch out for strangers. Most importantly, I got Catherine a therapist. She needed professional help to work through the trauma. Months passed, then a year. No more letters came. I began to hope Wayne had calmed down, accepted the situation. Maybe prison had changed him, forced him to rethink his life. Catherine slowly recovered. The therapist helped her deal with the betrayal and fear. She started smiling again, hanging out with friends, making plans for the future. She wanted to study journalism, dreamed of becoming a war correspondent. I want to show people the truth, she said, so no one can lie or manipulate again. I understood where that came from. Her father's lies had been a brutal but powerful lesson. She would never again blindly trust words at face value. I was changing too. I learned to be independent, to make decisions without relying on a man's opinion. I realized I could handle things on my own, household, finances, raising my daughter. At work, they offered me a promotion. The department head was retiring, and management saw me as the best candidate. I accepted. More responsibility, but also more opportunities. Most importantly, financial stability, something I needed now that I was the only provider. My colleagues supported me. Especially Donald from the next department. He was about 45, divorced, with 2 kids. We started having lunch together, discussing work. Then he invited me for coffee after work. I agreed. It wasn't a date. Just 2 lonely people who had things to talk about. Donald had been through something similar. His wife left him for another man when the kids were little. He understood my pain, my fears. You know what the hardest part is? He said once. Learning to trust again. After betrayal, it feels like everyone is capable of lying. And how did you get past that? Time, he said simply. Time, and the realization that not everyone is the same. You can't punish the future for the sins of the past. Wise words. But I wasn't ready for a new relationship yet. The wounds were still too raw. Donald understood, didn't push. We stayed friends. Good friends, and that mattered too. A year and a half passed since the day the guard handed me that note. Life had found its rhythm again. Catherine was preparing for graduation exams. I was running the department. Mom enjoyed being a grandmother, spoiling her granddaughter. And then the news came. Wayne had applied for early release. For good behavior, work in the prison library, claimed remorse. The investigator called to warn me. The hearing is in 2 weeks. You have the right to attend and give your opinion. Could they let him out? In theory, yes. He served more than half his term, his record is clean. But your opinion, as the victim, will be considered. For 2 weeks I wrestled with doubt. Part of me didn't want Wayne out early. His threatening letter still sat in my drawer, proof he hadn't forgiven, hadn't forgotten. But another part wondered, maybe prison had really changed him. Maybe he had realized his mistakes and wanted a fresh start. Catherine was firm. Don't let him out, Mom. He's dangerous. He tried to kill us. Mom agreed with her. Let him serve his full sentence. It's too risky. On the day of the hearing, I went to the prison. It was surreal, stepping into the place where the man I once loved was serving time. The hearing room was small and strict. 5 people sat at a long table, the commission. They seated me off to the side, as the victim. They brought Wayne in. I barely recognized him. He'd lost weight, looked older, his eyes dull. The prison uniform made him seem foreign, like a stranger. He looked at me. Surprise flickered in his gaze, then something like hope. Did he think I had come to support him? The chairman read his record. Wayne had behaved well, worked in the library, helped other inmates with education. Not a single violation. Inmate Rhodes, what do you have to say for yourself? Wayne stood. I deeply regret what I did. I know I hurt the people closest to me. If I could turn back time, I'd do everything differently. Please give me a chance to prove I've changed. Do you have plans for the future if the commission approves your release? Yes. My brother has offered to take me in, give me a job at his company in another city. I want to start over, far from my past. Another city. That was reassuring. Maybe he really didn't intend to come after us. The victim, Beatrice Rhodes, may now speak. I stood up. Every pair of eyes turned to me. Wayne looked at me pleadingly, the commission expectant. I'm against early release, I said firmly. The convict tried to kill me, my underage daughter, and my mother. We survived only by sheer luck. After his arrest, he sent me a threatening letter. I don't believe his remorse is real. I believe he should serve his full sentence. Wayne went pale. Beatrice, I really am sorry. That letter, it was a mistake, a moment of weakness. I don't hold any anger anymore. You set fire to our home, I said, meeting his eyes. You could have killed your own daughter. How can there be forgiveness for that? The commission left to deliberate. They came back half an hour later with their decision, early release denied. Wayne was let out. As he passed me, he whispered, "You'll regret this." I shivered but didn't reply. The guards quickly took him away. On the way home, I replayed his words in my head. Was it a threat or just raw emotion? Still, unease stayed with me. Wayne had 6 months left. What would happen when he got out? At home, I told my family about the hearing. Catherine hugged me. You did the right thing, Mom. He deserves to stay there. But I didn't feel relieved. Just tired. And afraid of what lay ahead. The next 6 months flew by. Catherine passed her exams and was accepted into journalism at the university. I was proud of her, but deep inside, the anxiety remained. The day of Wayne's release was approaching. A week before he got out, the investigator on our case called me. Beatrice, I want to warn you. Rhodes will be released next Monday. By law, he can't approach you or your family, but please be careful. And if he violates the order, call the police immediately. That will give us grounds to arrest him again. I thanked him, but I knew police protection only went so far. By the time they arrived, anything could happen. On Monday morning, I skipped work. I sent Catherine to class with strict instructions to be careful and call me if anything felt off. Mom stayed home too. We sat in the kitchen drinking tea, waiting. Waiting for what? We didn't know. We just couldn't go about our day knowing Wayne was free. The day passed quietly. So did the next. And the next week. No sign of Wayne. Maybe he really had gone to his brother's city, just like he'd said at the hearing. Little by little, the tension eased. Life slipped back into normal. Catherine went to her classes, I worked, Mom kept the house. We started to relax, to believe the danger had passed. And then the thing I never expected happened. On a Friday evening, 3 weeks after Wayne's release, a visitor came to my office. The secretary said it was a potential client, wanted to discuss a big order. I was alone, everyone else had already left. The door opened, and a man walked in. Tall, lean, wearing an expensive suit. His face looked familiar, but I couldn't place it. "Good evening, Beatrice," he said, sitting across from me. "My name is Jacob Rhodes. I'm Wayne's brother." Wayne's brother. My guard went up immediately. In all our years of marriage, I'd seen him only a few times. They weren't close. Wayne had always said his brother lived in another city, ran a construction business. "What brings you here?" I asked coldly. "Wayne's been living with me," Jacob said without preamble. "For the past 3 weeks. And I came to talk to you about him. I have nothing to discuss regarding your brother. Please, hear me out." Jacob leaned forward. "Wayne is sick. Mentally sick. Prison broke him completely. He's obsessed with the idea of getting his family back, of getting you back. He talks about it constantly, makes plans." A chill ran through me. "He's threatened me. Not directly, but I can see he's not stable. Yesterday, I found a photo of you in his room, all scribbled over. And notes, pages where he wrote that you belong to him, that no one has the right to separate you. Why don't you get him help? If he's ill, he needs treatment." Jacob gave a bitter laugh. "You think I haven't tried?" "He refuses. Says he's perfectly fine, that it's all a conspiracy against him. And I can't have him committed by force. Not yet, anyway. They'll only act if he's a direct danger. Until then, my hands are tied. What do you want from me?" "I want to warn you. Be very careful. Wayne could show up at any time. He knows where you work, where Catherine studies. Yesterday I saw him checking the bus schedule to your city. But he's forbidden from coming near us. You think that'll stop him? In his state, he doesn't see reality. He's living in some fantasy where you're still his wife and everything that happened was just a misunderstanding he needs to fix." Jacob stood. "I've done all I can. I've warned you. The rest is in your hands. And one more thing." He pulled a folded paper from his pocket. "I found this in his things. I think you need to see it." He laid it on my desk and left. I picked it up with trembling hands. It was a plan. A detailed plan of how Wayne intended to reunite the family. My routines were listed: when I left the house, when I came back. Catherine's class schedule, the address of her university. And at the end, tomorrow's date. With the words, "Day of Reunion." I grabbed the phone and called the investigator. I told him about Jacob's visit, about Wayne's plan. He promised to act immediately, extra patrols near our home, the local officer notified. At home, I called a family meeting. I told Mom and Catherine about Jacob's warning, showed them the plan. Catherine went pale. "He's been watching us this whole time?" Looks like it, I nodded. But we're not going to let him carry out his twisted plan. Tomorrow nobody leaves the house. We'll lock ourselves in. If he shows up, we call the police right away. The night was restless. I barely slept, listening for every sound. A few times I got up to check the locks, peeked through the windows. Everything was quiet. Saturday morning started tense. We had breakfast in silence, each of us lost in our own thoughts. Around 10, the doorbell rang. We froze. Who is it? I called out without opening. Flower delivery for Beatrice, a man's voice replied. I looked through the peephole. A courier stood there holding a massive bouquet of roses. But I didn't open. Leave it at the door, thank you. I need a signature for delivery. Sorry, I can't open. Just leave it at the door. He lingered for a moment, then left the bouquet on the step. 10 minutes later, after making sure no one was around, I quickly pulled it inside and locked up again. Attached was a card, to my beloved wife on the day of our reunion. Soon we'll be together again. Our Wayne. He was here, in the city. And he was planning to carry out his twisted reunion today. I called the police. A patrol came, took the bouquet and card as evidence. They promised to stay nearby. But I still didn't feel safe. Wayne was smart, resourceful. If he had a plan, he'd try to see it through. The day dragged on painfully. We sat in the living room, the TV on but no one watching. Every sound made us flinch. Around 4, the phone rang. A landline call. I answered. Beatrice? A strange woman's voice. This is the ER at City Hospital. Your mother's here. There's been an accident. I froze. Turned around. Mom was sitting right next to Catherine on the couch, staring at me in confusion. There must be a mistake, I said. My mother's home. Oh, I'm sorry, the voice stammered. We must have mixed up the number. Apologies. I hung up. It was him. Wayne. Trying to lure us out. An hour later, another call. This time pretending to be from Catherine's university, an accident in the lab, urgent need to come. I hung up before they finished. He's trying to bait us, I said. But we're not falling for it. Around 7, noise erupted outside. We looked out the window. Police were pinning down a man. Even from a distance, I recognized Wayne. He fought, shouting, Beatrice. I know you're in there. Come out. We need to talk. This is a misunderstanding. We're family. The police shoved him into a car and drove off. I exhaled with relief. It was over. He'd been arrested. But relief didn't last. That evening the investigator called. Beatrice, I've got bad news. We can't hold Rhodes for long, he said. Technically, he hasn't committed a crime. He sent flowers, made calls. That's not criminal. But he had a plan. He already started it. A restraining order violation is just administrative. At most, a fine or 15 days in custody. Tomorrow morning he'll be released under a travel ban until the hearing. I couldn't believe it. After everything, the system still wouldn't protect us. What do you suggest? Be very careful. Call us at the first sign of danger. And maybe leave town for a while. Leave? To relatives, friends. At least until we resolve this. After hanging up, I gathered Mom and Catherine. Pack your things. We're leaving. Where? Catherine asked. To Aunt Doris. My cousin. 300 kilometers away. We'll be safe there. We packed light, only essentials, and left at night so no one would see us. I kept checking the rearview mirror, terrified someone was following. Aunt Doris welcomed us warmly, no questions asked, gave us rooms. Her house sat on the edge of a quiet little town. Peaceful, calm. Finally, we could rest. But peace didn't last. 3 days later, the investigator called. Beatrice Rhodes is missing. He skipped his administrative hearing. We've put him on the wanted list. Can he find us? I hope not. But stay alert. I told Doris everything. She was shocked but promised to help. Her husband, Uncle Michael, a retired soldier, said he'd keep watch and wouldn't let anyone through. Days dragged in tense waiting. Catherine missed classes, I stayed off work. We were hostages to one man's madness. On the 5th day, the thing I feared happened. In the morning, Uncle Michael spotted a strange car parked across the street. A man sat inside, watching the house. He's not local, Michael said. I know everyone here. Is that him? My stomach dropped. Wayne. Gaunt, unshaven, eyes blazing like a fanatic. How had he found us? Call the police, I said. Now. But Wayne must have realized he'd been spotted. He got out of the car and started toward the house. Uncle Michael went out to block him. Stop. Private property. I need my wife, Wayne answered. I know she's here. Beatrice, come out. We need to talk. Leave now, or I'll call the police, Michael said firmly. Beatrice is my wife. I have the right to talk to her. Ex-wife. And she doesn't want to see you. Wayne tried to push past Uncle Michael, but Michael grabbed his arm. A scuffle broke out. Wayne was younger, but Michael had the strength and experience. He quickly pinned Wayne to the ground. Just then, the police arrived. They arrested Wayne, this time on serious charges: assault, violating the restraining order, and stalking. That evening the investigator called. Now we can keep him until trial. He's facing real time. You can go back home. But I didn't feel relieved. How had Wayne found us in a small town 300 kilometers away? Did he have help? Or was he just that obsessed, willing to go to any lengths? We returned home a week later. Life slowly fell back into a routine. Catherine went back to school, I returned to work. But the fear stayed. The fear that it could all happen again. That Wayne would find a way to reach us, even from behind bars. The trial was set for 2 months later. In that time, several things happened that changed everything. First, Jacob, Wayne's brother, came back. This time with documents, medical reports, official papers. Wayne has schizophrenia, he said, laying the files on the table. Paranoid type. The doctors believe it developed over years, but prison made it worse. His obsession with you is part of his delusions. In his mind, you're still together. What does that change? I asked. The court may send him to compulsory treatment instead of prison. That would be better for everyone. He'd get help, and you'd know he couldn't chase you. I thought about it. Part of me believed Wayne deserved punishment for what he'd done. But if he truly was sick, treatment, not prison, was what he needed. Second, Anna Connell appeared, the mistress at the center of it all. She called and asked to meet. We met at the same cafe where we had spoken more than 2 years earlier. Anna looked different, older, more serious. I've heard what's happening, she began. And I feel guilty. If it weren't for me, you're not to blame, I cut her off. Wayne made his own choices. His illness isn't your fault. I want to help, Anna said. I still have his old messages and letters. You can see how his mind was changing, how the obsession grew. That could prove his insanity in court. I agreed. Strange how the woman who once destroyed my family was now trying to help me. And third, most surprising of all, Catherine decided she wanted to see her father. Mom, I want to see him before the trial, she said after long thought. Say goodbye to the father I remember, and accept that he's gone. The visit was held in detention, under guard, and with a psychiatrist present. I waited in the corridor while Catherine spoke with him. She came out half an hour later, tears in her eyes. That's not Dad, she said. That's a stranger. He said crazy things, like we'll be together soon, that he bought us a house. He doesn't understand what's happening. That meeting was a turning point for her. She let go of the past and supported the decision to send him for compulsory treatment. The trial moved quickly. The medical reports, witness testimony, Wayne's clear instability, all pointed to the same conclusion. The judge ordered him committed to a secure psychiatric hospital. As the verdict was read, Wayne looked at me and smiled. "Soon, my love," he whispered. "Soon we'll be together." They led him away. Afterwards, the doctor assigned to his case came over. "Don't worry," he said. "The treatment will be long, possibly lifelong. His condition is serious. But we'll do everything we can." I nodded, too drained to speak. It was over. The nightmare that had lasted more than 2 years was finally over. But life went on. And it wasn't all bad. Donald, my colleague who had supported me all this time, asked me to dinner one evening. A real date, not just coffee. "I know what you've been through," he said. "I'm not rushing you. I just want you to know I'm here. And I'm willing to wait as long as it takes." I wasn't ready for a new relationship. The wounds were still raw. But his quiet confidence, his patience, his kindness slowly began to thaw the ice in my heart. Catherine accepted Donald easily. "He's not trying to replace Dad," she said. "He's just a good man who cares about you. You deserve to be happy, Mom." My mother agreed. "Life's too short to live in the past," she told me. "Wayne was a tragedy. But your life doesn't have to end with that." A year passed. Donald and I moved forward slowly, carefully. Both of us scarred by the past, we valued honesty, calm, and openness. Catherine finished her second year at university. She was writing articles for the student paper, dreaming of becoming an investigative journalist. Our family story had taught her to value truth, to face hard topics without fear. News of Wayne came through Jacob. The treatment was slow. Sometimes Wayne had lucid moments, realizing what he had done, sinking into deep depression. Then he would slip back into his delusions. "The doctors won't give predictions," Jacob said. "They warn he may never fully recover." I accepted that. The Wayne I loved, the man I spent 16 years with, no longer existed. What was left was a sick man, dependent on lifelong treatment. A tragedy for him, for his family. But no longer mine. One evening, a year and a half after the trial, Donald proposed. It wasn't flashy or dramatic. Just over dinner at home, he pulled out a ring and asked, "Beatrice, will you marry me? I can't promise a perfect life, but I promise I'll always be by your side, no matter what." I looked at the ring, at his face full of hope and love. And I knew I was ready. Ready to trust again, ready to try building a family once more. "Yes," I said. "Yes, I'll marry you." Catherine was thrilled for us. "You two deserve each other," she said, hugging us both. "And I'm so glad I'll finally have a normal family." The wedding was small. Just close friends and family. No extravagance, no show, just a celebration of a new chapter. But fate had another twist. A week before the wedding, a letter arrived. No return address, but I recognized the handwriting. Wayne. "Dear Beatrice," he wrote. "I'm getting better. The doctors say I'm making progress. I understand now what I did, the pain I caused. I'm not asking for forgiveness, I don't deserve it. I just want you to know, that obsession, that madness, it was the illness, not me. The real me loved you, truly, I just didn't know how to show it. Be happy. You deserve happiness. And tell Catherine that I love her, that I always loved her, even when the illness clouded my mind. Goodbye. Wayne." I stared at the letter for a long time. Then I showed it to Catherine. She read it, stayed quiet for a moment, and said, "It's good he's getting better. Maybe one day I'll forgive him. Not now, but someday." I burned the letter. The past had to stay in the past. I had a new life, a new family, new happiness. I wouldn't let ghosts from yesterday ruin that. But the story didn't end there. 3 months after the wedding, I found out I was pregnant. At 44, when I'd long stopped hoping. Donald was overjoyed. Catherine was excited too, happy at the thought of being a big sister. "This is a new beginning," my mom said. "Life is giving you a second chance at happiness." The pregnancy went smoothly despite my age. I felt it was a gift, a chance to rebuild what had once been broken. Then, one autumn day in my 7th month, something incredible happened. I was walking in the park near our home. Donald was at work, Catherine at the university. It was warm, sunny. I sat on a bench to rest, soaking in the last golden days. Suddenly, someone sat down beside me. I turned my head and froze. It was Wayne. But not the sick, obsessed man I'd last seen. This was Wayne from the past, calm, collected, with clear eyes. "Don't be afraid," he said softly. "I won't hurt you. I just wanted to see you. And to apologize." "How are you here?" I whispered, glancing around for help. "They let me out for the day. A supervised walk." He nodded toward a man in a white coat standing nearby. "I have 5 minutes. What do you want?" "To apologize. Truly. Looking you in the eyes. For everything, for the cheating, the lies, the pain I caused. For nearly killing you and Catherine. I was sick, but that's no excuse. I destroyed everything we had." He looked at my belly. "You're pregnant. I'm happy for you. Really happy. You deserve this." "Wayne, don't say anything," he interrupted. "I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just want you to know, I understand now. If I could turn back time, but I can't. All I can do is wish you happiness. And promise I'll never disturb your peace again." He stood. "Tell Catherine I love her. That I'm proud of her. She's strong, like you. Goodbye, Beatrice. Be happy." And he walked away. Just stood up and left, leaving me on the bench, my heart racing. The orderly gave me an apologetic nod, then led him away. I sat there for a long time, processing what had just happened. That was the end. The real end of our story. Wayne had let me go, and I had let him go. Forgiven? No. But released. Finally allowed the past to stay where it belonged. That evening I told Donald. He listened calmly, then wrapped me in his arms. "Are you okay?" "Yes," I said. And it was true. I'm okay. It was closure, I guess. Now it's really over. 2 months later, our son was born. Small, healthy, beautiful. We named him Michael, after Uncle Michael, the man who once protected us when it mattered most. Catherine adored her little brother. "I'll teach him everything," she said. "And I promise I'll always protect him." Life settled. Ordinary, peaceful, happy. Donald turned out to be a wonderful husband and father. Catherine graduated, started working at a major publication. Michael grew up healthy and cheerful. We never heard from Wayne again. Sometimes Jacob would call, saying his brother was stable, still in treatment. But even those calls grew fewer, until they stopped altogether. That was how it should be. Everyone with their own life, their own fate. 5 years passed. Michael turned 5 and started preschool. Catherine married a wonderful young man, also a journalist. Mom still lived with us, helping with her grandson. Donald got promoted to branch director. I kept working too, though less. I wanted more time with my family. And then one morning, sipping coffee while scrolling through the news, I stumbled across a short piece in the local section, "Psychiatric hospital patient found dead." The article gave only sparse details. A 52-year-old man, long under treatment, had taken his own life. Relatives refused to comment. I didn't need to see the name. I knew. It was Wayne. My heart clenched with a strange mix of emotions, pity, sorrow, and relief. His suffering was over. And so was our story, finally and completely. I didn't go to the funeral. Catherine didn't either. It would have felt wrong, hypocritical. We had already said our goodbyes long ago, each in our own way. But on the day of the funeral, I lit a candle in church for the soul of the man I once loved. The father of my child. A man who got lost in the maze of his own mind and couldn't find his way out. Rest in peace, I whispered. And forgive us, if you can. At home, my family was waiting. Donald cooking dinner, Michael doing homework, Mom knitting by the window. A simple scene of family happiness. The kind I once thought I'd lost forever, but had found again. Mom, can you help me with math? Michael asked. Of course, sweetheart, I said, sitting beside him. And life went on. Ordinary, beautiful life. No secrets, no lies, no betrayal. The kind of life I had earned after all the storms. As for the guard's note, it became a family legend we never told. Too painful, too personal. But I kept that slip of paper hidden deep in a box with important documents. A reminder that truth, no matter how bitter, is always better than a beautiful lie. And that sometimes a stranger can save your life just by telling the truth. Brian Lane, the guard, still worked at the business center. I saw him a few times when I came by on errands. We'd nod, exchange polite words. But once, in the lobby, I stopped. Thank you, I said simply. For everything. He understood. He nodded. I'm glad you're doing well, Beatrice. You deserve it. And we went our separate ways. Two people whose lives had intersected at a critical moment. He had done his duty, spoken the truth. And I had found the strength to accept it and move forward. That evening, after hearing about Wayne's death, Catherine came over. She'd seen the news too. We sat in the kitchen, drinking tea in silence. Then she said, You know, Mom, I don't regret anything. Yes, it hurt. Yes, he destroyed our family. But without that, there wouldn't be Donald or Michael. You wouldn't be this happy. And I wouldn't be this strong. Wise words from a 25-year-old. But she was right. Sometimes the old has to be destroyed to make way for the new. Sometimes betrayal clears the path to real happiness. I love you, I told her, hugging her tight. And I love you, Mom. Thank you. For protecting me back then. For never giving up. For showing me how to fight for happiness. We sat there, holding each other, two women who had been through fire and come out stronger. Outside, snow was falling, blanketing the city in white. New snow. New purity. A new beginning. Michael ran into the kitchen. Mom, Catherine, come on. Dad set up the tree. Let's decorate. We went into the living room, where Donald was unpacking boxes of ornaments. Mom directed from her chair. Just ordinary Christmas chaos. Ordinary family joy. And as we hung the decorations, laughed at Michael's jokes, debated which star should top the tree, I thought about how strange life is. How happiness can grow out of pain. How betrayal can become freedom. How truth, even the harshest truth, can save you. That guard's note had been the start of a new life. A life without illusions, but with real love. A life full of challenges, but also real joy. A life I chose for myself, not one chosen for me. What are you thinking about? Donald asked, wrapping his arms around me from behind. How happy I am, I answered, leaning into him. And it was pure truth. Despite everything, or maybe because of everything, I was happy. Truly, deeply happy, free of the past. Michael climbed onto Donald's shoulders to place the star. Catherine snapped pictures. Mom wiped tears of joy. And I looked at my family, real, loving, honest, and knew none of it had been in vain. Every tear, every sleepless night, every fear. It had all led me here, to this moment of absolute happiness. Somewhere in the distance lingered the ghost of the life that no longer existed. The ghost of a woman who once lived in lies. The ghost of a family built on betrayal. They were gone, dissolved into the past, leaving room for something real. "Merry Christmas!" Michael shouted when the tree was finished. "Merry Christmas," I whispered back. And life went on. 2 more years passed. Michael started 2nd grade, Catherine was expecting her first child, Donald opened his own consulting firm. It felt like the past had finally, completely let us go. But fate had one last test in store. It all started with a phone call. Early Monday morning, while I was getting Michael ready for school, the house phone rang. The number was unfamiliar. "Beatrice?" A young, unfamiliar female voice asked. "My name is Gladys Rhodes. I'm the wife of Jacob Rhodes, your ex-husband's brother." I tensed. Why would Jacob's wife be calling me? We had never spoken, and I hadn't even known he was married. "I'm listening," I said carefully. "Jacob died 2 weeks ago." "A heart attack," her voice trembled. "While going through his things, I found documents that concern you. And a letter asking me to give them to you if anything ever happened to him." "What kind of documents?" I asked, already feeling anxiety rising inside me. "I don't know all the details. But Jacob wrote that it was very important. That you needed to know the truth. Can we meet?" I agreed. Curiosity outweighed caution. What truth had Jacob wanted to reveal? What could I possibly not know by now? We met in a cafe downtown. Gladys was about 35, tired-looking, with sad eyes. She handed me a thick folder. "Jacob asked me to give this to you personally. He said you'd know what to do with it." I opened the folder. On top was a handwritten letter. Jacob's handwriting. "Dear Beatrice," it began. "If you're reading this, it means I'm gone. I've wrestled for a long time with whether to tell you the truth, but I can't take it with me to the grave. Wayne wasn't sick. At least not in the way everyone thought. His obsession with you, his attempts to get the family back together, it was all an act. A carefully planned act with a very specific goal. 8 years ago, even before he met Anna Connell, Wayne fell into massive debt. He gambled on the stock market using his clients' money. When the fraud was uncovered, he was facing prison. But he found a way out. Your apartment, the one you sold after the divorce, was worth far more than you got for it. In the basement, which you never knew about, was a hidden vault left by the previous owners. And inside it, a collection of lost artwork. Paintings worth millions. Wayne learned about it by chance, from an old architect who had worked on the building's renovation. But the only way to reach the vault was through your apartment. The entrance was sealed off, under your floors. The whole affair with Anna was staged. She wasn't some random mistress. She was the daughter of the very collector who had spent his life searching for those paintings. Wayne struck a deal with her. She played the mistress, provoked the divorce, and then together they would claim the treasure. But the plan went wrong. You didn't sell the apartment right after the divorce, as he'd expected. Worse, you tightened security, changed the locks. So Wayne tried another way, getting back into the family. The fire was staged. Yes, he meant to scare you, but not to kill you. The flames were only supposed to damage the door, to create the illusion of danger. But something went wrong, the fire spread faster than planned. Even prison was part of the plan. Wayne was counting on early release, on your sympathy. The story about mental illness, a carefully staged performance. He bribed a doctor at the clinic, the one who diagnosed him. But then you remarried and sold the apartment. The new owners renovated and stumbled on the vault. The paintings were turned over to the state. Wayne lost everything. And that's when he truly broke. For real this time. His suicide wasn't staged. He couldn't bear the collapse of all his schemes, the realization that he had lost his family, his freedom, his future, all for the illusion of wealth. I knew everything from the start. Wayne told me his plan, hoping I'd help. I refused, but I didn't expose him either. He was my brother, I couldn't. But now that he's gone, you deserve the truth. In the folder you'll find the evidence, his correspondence with Anna Connell where they plotted everything, records of his debts, photographs of the paintings, the doctor's signed receipt for the false diagnosis. Forgive me for keeping silent all these years. I tried to protect you in my own way, warning you of danger without revealing everything. I hope now you can finally close this chapter of your life. Sincerely, Jacob Rhodes. I finished reading, and it felt like the ground was collapsing beneath me. Everything I had believed these past years was a lie. Wayne hadn't been sick. He had been a calculating con man, willing to destroy everything for money. Are you all right? Gladys asked softly. I couldn't answer. I pulled out the other documents. Wayne and Anna's correspondence. They coldly discussed how best to stage their affair, how to make me believe it. She bought it, Wayne wrote. Thinks I'm in love with you. Soon I'll file for divorce, and the apartment will be ours. Don't rush, Anna replied. It has to look natural. And remember, I want guarantees. Half the painting's value is mine. Then came the photos. War-era paintings. A fortune hidden beneath my floors. And finally, the doctor's receipt, chilling in its bluntness, received $50,000 for diagnosing Wayne Rhodes with paranoid schizophrenia and certifying his insanity. I closed the folder. My head was spinning. Thank you, I managed. Thank you for giving me this. What will you do with it? Gladys asked. I don't know. I need time to process all of this. At home, I locked myself in the bedroom and read through all the documents again. Every line felt like a blow. The man I had loved, spent 16 years with, turned out to be a monster. He hadn't just cheated. He had planned everything from the start, used me, manipulated me. And Anna Connell. She had played her role so well, the betrayed mistress. She cried, apologized, claimed she hadn't known he was married. But in truth, she had been his accomplice. That evening I told Donald everything. He listened silently, then pulled me into his arms. Does this change anything for you? He asked. I thought about it. Did it? Wayne was dead. Anna was gone from our lives. The paintings had been returned to the state. Justice had been served, even if not in the way anyone expected. No, I said at last. It just adds the final brushstroke to the portrait of the man I once loved. Now I know even our marriage was built on lies. He didn't marry me for love. He married me because I was convenient, hardworking, naive, willing to support him. But it brought you to me, Donald said softly. To our family, to Michael. Maybe it wasn't all for nothing. He was right. Without Wayne's betrayal, I wouldn't have the life I had now. I wouldn't know real love, real happiness. I decided to tell Catherine the truth. She deserved to know who her father truly was. It was a hard choice, but necessary. Catherine took it better than I expected. She was a grown woman now, waiting for her own child. You know, Mom, she said after a long silence, this explains a lot. I always felt something fake about Dad. Even as a kid. He played the role of a loving father, but it was just that, a role. You don't hate him? I asked. No. He's dead. What's the point of hating the dead? I pity him. He wasted his whole life chasing the ghost of wealth and lost everything real, family, love, freedom. Isn't that punishment enough? My daughter's wisdom amazed me. She had grown strong, despite everything we'd been through. Or maybe because of it. The question remained, what to do with the documents? Show them to the police? But what was the point? Wayne was dead, the doctor was probably gone, Anna had disappeared. The crime was undone, the paintings were found and returned. I decided to keep the folder. A reminder that people aren't always who they seem. That behind a charming mask can hide a monster. That trust is important, but so is vigilance. And I decided I needed to find Brian Lane, the security guard who had given me that first note. I had to talk to him to know what he really knew. Brian was still working at the same business center. Older now, grayer, but still just as observant and kind. I invited him for coffee. "Brian," I began once we sat down, "that note you gave me 7 years ago. Did you know more than you wrote?" He was silent for a while, then nodded. "I did. Not everything, but I suspected. I saw your husband meeting with shady people. Overheard bits of conversations about paintings, about big money. And that woman, Anna, she never looked like someone in love. Too calculating, too cold. Why didn't you write that in the note? Would you have believed me? You loved your husband, you trusted him. If I had written about art scams, you'd have thought I was crazy. So I wrote only what you could check for yourself about the affair. I thought maybe it would make you look closer at him, maybe figure it out on your own. You saved my life," I told him. "If not for your note, I never would have learned the truth. I'd still be living in lies." "I just couldn't stay silent," Brian shrugged. "I saw what a good woman you were, how you brought him lunch, cared for him. And him? He didn't value you. He used you. Why risk it? Wayne could have found out it was you who wrote the note." "I have a daughter your age," he said quietly. "And a granddaughter, like your Catherine. I thought, what if this happened to them? Wouldn't I want someone to warn them? And I decided yes. So I wrote it. We talked for a long time. About life, about choices, about how important it is to listen to your conscience. As we parted, I shook his hand. "Thank you. For everything. Live happily, Beatrice. You deserve it." On the way home, I thought about the strange twists of fate. Without that note, I never would have discovered the affair. I wouldn't have divorced Wayne. He would have carried out his plan, taken the paintings. Maybe he would have left me, or worse, gotten rid of an inconvenient witness. But that note changed everything. It destroyed Wayne's plan, saved my life, and led me to new happiness. Sometimes one act from a stranger can change an entire destiny. At home, Donald and Michael were waiting. My son ran up to me, shouting excitedly, "Mom! Look, I drew our family." In his drawing, there we all were, me, Donald, Michael, Grandma, and even Catherine with her baby bump. Little stick figures holding hands and smiling. "It's beautiful," I said, hugging him. "We'll hang it on the fridge." "Why are you crying, Mom?" Michael asked, worried. I hadn't noticed the tears slipping down my cheeks. But they weren't tears of grief. They were tears of relief, of gratitude, of happiness. "I'm just glad I have you," I said. That evening, after Michael was asleep, Donald and I sat on the balcony, drinking tea and looking at the stars. "Do you regret anything?" he asked. I thought about it. Did I regret anything? The lost years with Wayne? The broken illusions? The pain I had to endure? No, I answered honestly. Every experience, even the bad ones, made me who I am. They led me to you, to our family. If I could go back, I wouldn't change a thing. Even knowing the truth about Wayne. Especially knowing it. Because lies would have come out sooner or later. At least this way, I had the chance to build a new life while I was still young and strong. Donald pulled me close. "I love you. Just the way you are. With all your past, with all your scars. And I love you." We sat in silence, and I thought about how strange life is. How truth can grow out of lies. How real love can be born out of betrayal. How happiness can spring from pain. A month later, my grandson was born. Catherine named him Brian, and I knew who she meant. The man who didn't turn away, who didn't stay silent, who changed our lives with a single note. A simple security guard who became a part of our destiny. At baby Brian's christening, the whole family gathered. And I invited Brian Lane. He looked embarrassed, saying he didn't deserve such an honor. But Catherine insisted. You saved my mom, she told him. Which means you saved me too. And my son. You're part of our story, part of our family. The old man was moved to tears. And little Brian, as if sensing the importance of the moment, gave his namesake a toothless smile. After the christening, we all came back to our house. A big family gathered around a big table. Mom, Donald, Michael, Catherine with her husband and baby, Brian, and a few close friends. Laughter, conversation, the clink of glasses. I looked around at them all and felt my heart swell with warmth. This was my family. Real. Not perfect, but honest. Not flawless, but full of love. Donald stood, raising his glass. I want to make a toast. To truth. No matter how bitter, it's always better than sweet lies. To the people brave enough to tell it. And to the fact that truth, in the end, always wins. Everyone lifted their glasses. And I thought, yes, that was the perfect toast for our story. After dinner, when the guests began to leave, Brian Lane came up to me. Beatrice, there's something I never told you. Back then, 7 years ago, I didn't put everything in the note. I tensed. Another secret? That day, when I gave you the note, I saw your husband with that woman. They were kissing in a car in the parking lot. And I heard him say, soon everything will be ours. The apartment, the money, freedom. Beatrice is too trusting, she'll never suspect a thing. And she answered, I hope you're right. So much work for a bunch of paintings. Why didn't you write that? Because I didn't understand what it meant. What paintings? What money? I thought they were just talking about a future together. But now, after what you've told me, it all makes sense. I nodded. Another piece of proof, confirming Jacob's letter. Wayne had planned it all from the start. Thank you for telling me. Though it doesn't matter anymore. It's in the past. Have you forgiven him? The old man asked. I thought about it. Forgiven? No, not forgiven. But I had let it go. I had let go of the anger, the bitterness, the pain. Left it all in the past. Because the present was too beautiful to shadow with ghosts of what was gone. Brian smiled. That's wise. Very wise. May God grant you happiness. When everyone left, I stepped out onto the balcony. The city glowed with night lights. Somewhere out there, in some other apartment, maybe another drama was unfolding. Someone discovering betrayal, someone losing love, someone finding it. I pulled out the note. The first note Brian had given me, the one that started it all. Yellowed now, worn at the folds. I read the words once more. Your husband is seeing another woman. You have the right to know the truth. The right to know the truth. Such powerful words. Truth can hurt, can destroy the world you know. But it can also free you, give you the chance for a new life. I tore the note into small pieces and let the wind carry them away. White scraps swirled through the air, taking with them the last traces of the past. What are you doing? Donald asked, stepping out onto the balcony. Letting go of the past, I said. He wrapped his arms around me. And what's left? The present. And the future. Our future. We stood, holding each other, watching the bits of paper disappear into the dark. With them went the pain, the anger, the fear. What remained was love. And gratitude. Gratitude to the guard who spoke up. Gratitude to fate for giving me a second chance. Gratitude to Donald for his patience and love. Gratitude to my children for simply existing. And even, strangely, gratitude to Wayne. For the lesson. For showing me how not to live. For betraying me in a way that eventually led me to true happiness. Inside, baby Brian began to cry. Catherine rocked him, humming a lullaby. Michael rubbed his eyes sleepily against Grandma's shoulder. An ordinary family scene. but to me, more precious than any treasure hidden in vaults. "Let's go in," Donald said. "Our family's waiting." Our family. Such simple words, yet they carried so much. Not perfect, but real. Not without struggles, but filled with love. Not without a past, but with a future. I cast one last glance at the city lights and went inside. Toward warmth, toward light, toward love. Toward the life I had chosen and built myself. Toward the happiness no one could ever take away. Somewhere out there in the dark, the last scraps of that note were still swirling in the wind, carrying away the story of a woman who learned the truth and didn't break. A woman who lost everything and gained even more. Who walked through betrayal and found a way to love again. A story that began with a guard's note and ended in happiness. Another 5 years passed. Life flowed on, with its joys and troubles, but without the shocks of the past. Michael was now a teenager, fascinated by computers and dreaming of becoming a programmer. Little Brian had started kindergarten and impressed everyone with his quick mind. Catherine had become a well-known investigative journalist. She always said her personal experience taught her to see the lies hidden behind polished words. One ordinary day I was sorting through old boxes in the attic. Between cartons of Christmas decorations and photo albums, I found the folder Gladys Rhodes had once given me, the documents about Wayne's planned crime. I was about to throw it out when something stopped me. I opened it again and noticed an envelope I hadn't seen before, glued to the inside cover. On it was written, "Beatrice. Open after reading the main letter." Strange I hadn't noticed it earlier. Or maybe I just hadn't wanted to. My hand shook a little as I tore it open. Inside was a photograph and a short note. The photo showed a young Wayne with Jacob, arms around each other, laughing. On the back was a date, 1 year before my wedding to Wayne. The note was from Jacob: "Dear Beatrice, if you're reading this, it means you've already learned the whole truth about Wayne. But there's something more. Wayne wasn't always like this. Once, he was kind, honest, a dreamer. This picture was taken the day he got his diploma. He wanted to change the world, to help people. But life, circumstances, and his own weaknesses changed him. They turned him into the monster you came to know. I don't excuse him. I just want you to know he wasn't always that man. And maybe, deep down, some part of him still was that boy in the picture, just lost, unable to find his way back. Keep or throw away this photo, that's up to you. But remember, even in the darkest heart, there can be a corner of light. Sometimes people become monsters not because they're born that way, but because life breaks them. This is not an excuse. Just an attempt to understand. Jacob Rhodes. I stared at the photo for a long time. Young Wayne really did look different. An open face, a genuine smile, eyes full of hope. What had turned that boy into a calculating fraud? At what point had he stepped off the right path? I went downstairs still holding the photo. Donald was working in his study. I showed him the picture and the note. "What do you think?" I asked. Donald studied the photo carefully. "I think Jacob's right. People aren't born evil, they become that way. Wayne made his choices, and he's responsible for them. But knowing he wasn't always a monster might help you finally let the past go." I thought I already had. And now? I looked at the photo again and felt something I hadn't expected: pity. Not for Wayne the fraud, but for that young man in the picture who lost himself chasing easy money. Now yes. Now I've really let it go. I didn't throw the photo away. I slipped it into an album with other pictures from the past. Not as a memory of a cheating husband, but as a reminder that people are more complicated than they seem. That every story has a beginning, and the beginning doesn't always predict the end. That evening at dinner, Michael asked, "Mom, was my real dad a bad person?" The question caught me off guard. We had never hidden from Michael that Donald wasn't his biological father, but we had never gone into details either. "Why do you ask?" "A classmate said he heard from his parents that my dad went to prison for trying to kill you." I looked at Donald. He gave a small nod. "Tell him the truth." He was a complicated man, I began carefully. He did bad things, yes. But he was also sick. His mind wasn't clear. That doesn't excuse what he did, but it explains it. Did he love me? Michael asked. The million-dollar question. Did Wayne ever really love me and the kids? Or were we just part of his plan too? I think he did. In his own way. As much as he was capable of love. Why did he become bad? Michael asked. I thought of the photo of young Wayne. I don't know, sweetheart. Sometimes people lose themselves. They make one wrong choice, then another, and another. And at some point, it's too late to turn back. I won't be like that, Michael said firmly. You won't, Donald agreed. Because you have a family that loves you and will always be here for you. After dinner, Michael went off to do his homework, and I sat in the kitchen, lost in thought. Wayne's story hadn't just taught me lessons, it had shaped my children too. They learned early that the world isn't black and white, that people are capable of both cruelty and kindness. That truth matters more than comfortable lies. That family isn't only about blood, but about choosing to stay together no matter what. Later, Catherine called. Mom, I'm writing a book. A book? About what? About us. About our story. Of course, I'll change the names and details. But the story itself, it might help other women living in lies. To show them there's a way out. That there's life after betrayal. Aren't you afraid of digging up the past? No. It doesn't hurt anymore. It's just part of my story, the part that made me who I am. And I think people need to know that even from the darkest place, there's always a way forward. I was proud of her. She had turned pain into strength, her experience into help for others. Write it, I told her. And don't hold back. People need the truth. A year later, Catherine's book came out. She called it The Guard's Note. The story of a woman who learned the truth about her husband and found the strength to start over. The book was a success. Catherine was invited on TV, gave interviews, met readers. Many women wrote to her, thanking her for her honesty, for giving them hope. At one of the presentations, I sat in the audience, listening to my daughter tell our story. Donald was beside me, holding my hand. On the other side, my mom was dabbing at her tears. Michael was snapping photos on his phone. Little Brian sat on Catherine's husband's lap, playing with a toy. This is a story about how truth, no matter how painful, is better than lies, Catherine said. About how one person who chooses not to look away can change someone's life. About how real love can come after betrayal. And about how we get to choose whether we remain victims or become survivors. After the event, an older man came up to us. I recognized him instantly, Brian Lane. I read the book, he said. Never thought my note would lead to all this. Your note didn't just save me, I told him. Thanks to Catherine's book, it might save many others too. The old man gave a shy smile. I only did what my conscience told me. Anyone would have. No, Catherine shook her head. Not anyone. Most people would have walked by, told themselves, it's none of my business. But you didn't. And that changed everything. We walked home together that evening, our whole family. Just an ordinary family, like thousands of others. But to me, this family was a miracle. A miracle born of pain. Happiness born of betrayal. Love born after hate. At home, I pulled out the old album with the photo of young Wayne and showed it to Catherine. This was your father. Before he became who he became. Catherine studied the picture for a long time. He looks normal. Even kind. Evil doesn't always wear a scary face, I said. Sometimes it hides behind a charming smile. But goodness can be quiet too. Like Brian Lane, just a guard who changed our lives with one note. Mom, Catherine said, hugging me. Thank you. For not breaking. For protecting me. For showing me how to move on. No, thank you, I replied. For being my strength. For not turning bitter. For turning our pain into something that helps others. That night I couldn't sleep. I stepped out on the balcony, staring at the sleeping city. I thought about how strange life is. How one note can destroy and rebuild. How truth can wound and heal. How from ashes, a phoenix can rise. I heard footsteps behind me. Donald wrapped me in a blanket and held me. What are you thinking about? That I'm happy. Truly, deeply happy. And that this happiness was worth every trial. Even knowing what you had to go through? Especially knowing. Because now I cherish every moment. Every smile from Michael, every call from Catherine, every hug from you. I know what it means to lose everything. And I know what it means to gain more than I ever lost. We stood in silence, looking at the stars. Somewhere out there, in some parallel universe, maybe there was another version of me who never got the guard's note. Who kept living in lies. Who never knew the truth. Would her life have been easier? Maybe. Would it have been happier? No. Because happiness built on lies is just an illusion. It can crumble any moment. But happiness built on truth, on trials endured, on choices made with open eyes, that's a solid foundation for life. Come to bed, Donald said. Tomorrow's a new day. A new day. So much in those words. New chances, new joys, new discoveries. And all of it made possible by one note. A note that destroyed my old life and gave me the chance to build a new one. As I drifted to sleep beside the man I loved, in a home full of warmth, I silently thanked everyone who had been part of this story. Brian Lane, for the courage to tell the truth. Jacob, for warning me of danger. Anna, for unintentionally revealing Wayne's true face. Even Wayne himself, for the lesson he taught me. And life itself, for giving second chances to those brave enough to take them. The story that began with the horror of a guard's note ended in happiness. Not fairy tale happiness, not perfect happiness, but real happiness. The kind you fight for. The kind you earn. The kind no one can ever take away. My last thought before sleep was of that little scrap of paper that changed everything. Of the guard's note that became the turning point of my fate. Of the truth that set me free. And of how sometimes the most important things in life come from strangers who simply couldn't walk away.